Chapter 450. The atmosphere of Xia City in early winter was abnormally fiery because of the university student parade. The closer one got to the municipal plaza, the higher the heat. At 10 o'clock in the morning, there were already over 20 university parades stationed in the plaza and surrounding areas. Under the illumination of the winter sun, the weather could be considered fine. The temperature was neither hot nor cold. The university students, still in their energetic phase, began to wave slogans in the municipal plaza. They chatted with the surrounding military and police, testing each other's limits. Most people knew that today's parade was just a show. Professional skills and cooperation from all sides were indispensable in order to have a happy and brilliant show. Aside from reaching a consensus on this point, everything else was like a plate of loose sand. Luonan found a leisure library on the outskirts of the municipal plaza. There was a tea house, a water bar, and a hot drinks shop inside. Most importantly, the window position near the plaza was very good. It just so happened that the municipal plaza and most of the eastern area could be seen. He casually tapped the pages of the e-book on the translucent coffee table. 99% of his energy was placed on the plaza, searching for suspicious targets according to Peony's perfect plan. Then he confirmed, perfect my ass. There were parades, spectators, passers-by, and so on around the plaza. There were only several tens of thousands of people if all of them were counted. But the stream of people shuttling back and forth had their respective life sketches interwoven together to construct a changing star atlas. It was like an e-book on the table. The words were dense and page after page flashed past. It was dizzying to read. Right now, the number of people was far from reaching its peak. After the parade and the carnival began at night, it was very likely that there would be 500,000 people. They would be like sardines squeezed into a narrow area with a radius of 5 to 6 kilometers. The range was not a problem, but the density of stars in the living starry sky of 500,000 people was something that not even the center of the Milky Way could compare to. He squeezed out all of his brain juice. Could he color the target? Too chaotic. Too chaotic. Luonan's fingers lightly tapped on the table. He changed his tempo and volume to dispel the fidgety emotions in his mind. The order of the plaza was very chaotic right now, but the hearts of people were even more chaotic. Luonan had observed the parade that Peony had teased through Ink's perspective. Several hundred people advanced passionately. Their surging emotions formed a layer of scorching incorporeal flames. They had already formed some sort of initial fusion, some sort of embryonic form of a system. They seemed to converge, but in fact they could be contrasted to highlight the minute differences and contradictions of individuals. The procession in the plaza did not have this condition at all. Luonan could only begin by searching the target itself. However, the characteristics of the first, second, and third stages of a mutated infection were all different, especially the most likely second stage, which was the incubation period, in which the infection had not yet completely mutated. At this stage, the difference between the target and a normal creature was very small. It required a high degree of precision and a large amount of experience to make a judgment. Luonan had the information provided by Trigate Security by his side. He had used the standards of the root receptacle, root nature, and root trigger taught by Gym Master Shio to distinguish them, but this was not enough. The technique of distinguishing between the nature and mechanism of a tool also required a large amount of experience as a foundation. Luonan's current accumulation was far from enough. Not to mention that mental sensing had always been a very personal experience. It was very hard to truly comprehend it just by looking at the information. He needed to discuss this with someone, but the advisor, Peony, was still traveling leisurely on the road. It was said that she would arrive in the afternoon. Luonan stood by the window and observed for a while, consuming nearly all of his interest. There was also a lack of breakthroughs in his train of thought. He was simply wasting time in tea. He picked up a teacup and took a sip, slightly relaxing his nerves. Then he felt a weak stimulation nearby. It was not a target, but it was non-hostile. Chattering. Luonan turned his head to look, accurately capturing the source of the stimulation. There was an aisle and a row of tables, and he saw a familiar face. The other party's expression was a bit stiff when they met Luonan's gaze, but they still nodded politely in greeting. Luonan responded and then ignored them. However, the other party was still within the range of his perception. There were two people at the other party's table. They were both women, and they had been talking private all this time. They had been talking about him since just now. Sienna, who's this? You're frozen stiff. Don't mind me. No way. Don't tell me this is your ideal type? Turner will cry, right? I said don't mind me. But he looks so weak. He's like a little submissive. Look at what he's wearing. It's an autumn sweater. The color is gray. It looks like some school uniform. He's always reading with his head down. He has no friends. He's all alone. He's a typical depressed person. Shut up. Hey, you're being too protective. Are you secretly in love with him? Big-headed fish. Okay. Let's not talk about him. Let's not talk about him. What do you think about the seat I booked? The plaza will certainly be a mess at night. This place is the best. It's quiet and the atmosphere is pretty good. It's more suitable for a woman like you. Speaking of which, that person is sitting there. It's fate. Hey, where are you going? The restroom. The conversation ended, and a young girl with a slender figure stood up from the table. She wore fashionable clothes and left with a taut face. However, she shot a glance at Luo Nan before she left. Unfortunately, their gazes met once more. She could only nod with a stiff expression. Then she turned around and left in a hurry. She was Yuqin. She was the second generation of a certain pharmaceutical company. Last time at Aurora Cloud City, she was Luo Nan's guest. Her older brother Yu Zhang's performance was terrible. He had caused quite a bit of trouble, but she had always been very calm and smart. She behaved with propriety. The impression she gave others was okay. Luo Nan paid more attention to the reservation information Yuqin revealed during her conversation with her companion. He tapped on the table and sure enough he saw that the reservation time was displayed. It was from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. the next day. In other words, he could only stay at this seat until 6 p.m. at most. Then this place would belong to someone else. Should he find another place? Hold on. Since the two young girls could think of this, then the others. Luo Nan immediately entered keywords such as municipal plaza, parade, performance, and so on. Sure enough, the reservation service had already been activated for the relevant window viewing seats, and the number of available seats was rapidly disappearing. He only hesitated for a bit at two relatively remote seats. Game over. Forget it. With his mental senses, it didn't really matter if the location was good or bad. Perhaps it was even safer. Luo Nan sighed. He leaned his back against the back of the soft chair and closed his eyes to rest. But he felt that something was wrong in the next second. He opened his eyes and saw Yuqin's companion walking over with light steps. Her round face was smiling and she had very cute baby fat. She wore a pair of ladies' sunglasses on the tip of her nose. They were crooked and she looked as if she had stolen them from home to play. She looked very young and tender. However, she was quite tall. She wore a loose pink windbreaker paired with black pencil pants and white sneakers. Her frame was very lively. Chapter 451. It was hard to imagine that this girl, who called herself Fathead Fish, wouldn't care about anything else. She started off with a bunch of beeps. Luo Nan was stunned for a moment when faced with such a familiar person. He politely got up and touched Bayu's hand. He introduced himself, Luo Nan. Hello. We know each other now. As she spoke, Bayu sat in the seat across from Luo Nan. She giggled as she looked at him. Her eyes seemed to be shining. How long have you known Siener? I know all of Siener's friends, but I've never seen you before. I'm a student at Acumen College. I used to be at 6th High. I also used to be at 6th High. Bayu suddenly became excited. It's fate. But how come we've never met before? Luo Nan laughed. Do you know Imo Han? I'm her cousin. And In's cousin? Isn't that a little fatty called Imo Peng? I'm the other one. Oh, what a coincidence. I'm also a transfer student. I transferred to Xiqing District 2 years ago for the sake of making my debut. But you should be pretty low-key in 6th High, right? Yeah, I don't really come out to play. Bayu's heart was filled with curiosity. She was a young girl driven by curiosity. She didn't have any scheming thoughts. Luo Nan suddenly felt that Yuqin's circle of friends was pretty good. She didn't hate anyone other than her blood-related older brother. It was said to judge people by their friends. Just from this point alone, Yuqin was quite good. In any case, the perfect plan was ruined. There was still some time before Mo Ye's treat. Luo Nan was bored, so he chatted to pass the time. You just mentioned making your debut. Are you an artist? Bayu made a complicated yet adorable gesture. BHD's youngest, Bayu, will be joining us. Seeing Luo Nan's stupidly lack of reaction, Bayu's smiling face collapsed. I knew it. You don't belong to my fan club. Of course, I don't have many fans to begin with. Luo Nan was a bit embarrassed. Sorry, I really don't understand this. BHD is the name of the group? That's right, Bobblehead. But you just need to remember to shake your head, doll. The name is easy to remember. But it's still the 18th line. As she spoke, Bayu shook her head. Her movements matched her cute aura perfectly and her body swayed rhythmically. However, Luo Nan's gaze accidentally swept over her chest, which was completely incompatible with her age. This was because the trench coat had opened up after sitting down, and the thin layer of fabric inside could not hide the full curves. Acting like this at such a young age was simply against the rules. Luo Nan didn't have any crooked thoughts, but he was a bit embarrassed. He hurriedly averted his gaze and took the initiative to speak in order to conceal it. You and Yuqin came out to watch the parade? Baiyu waved her finger. Hey, although we are an unknown, we are still a duo that debuted. Do you see that? In the middle of the square, the scenery will be built in the afternoon. That will be our stage. Don't forget to help us tonight. As she spoke, she sighed again. We can't talk for too long. I still have to meet up with my sisters in a while to practice more. To the square. This sentence inexplicably made Baiyu laugh out loud. She burst out in laughter and almost threw her glasses off her nose bridge. It was on this building. The company is worried about traffic jams, so they rented a floor for practice. When rehearsals begin, we can use the underground passageway to go backstage. Rented a floor? Luo Nan was a bit shocked. He remembered that this was a large office building that occupied a large area. How much would it cost to rent it for a day? For an unknown girl group like BHD, would the cost of a night's performance be even a fraction of this? Baiyu understood Luo Nan's thoughts and said, Our company is very large. There are 5 or 6 groups participating tonight. There are even big singers and big singers. Luo Nan grunted and asked casually, Who is it? Baiyu was about to answer when hurried footsteps and a deep male voice approached at the same time. Doll. Oh my. Baiyu's first reaction was to jump up and lean against the previous table, but she didn't have the time to do so. Someone blocked her way. The person that appeared on the walkway was a man in formal attire. He was roughly 30 years old, had a straight face and had a serious expression. He faced Baiyu directly. You said that you came to pick up the teacher. Where's the teacher? Sit down. Are you afraid that people won't see you? The man in formal attire scolded in a low voice and indicated for Baiyu to sit down. He sat down as well just in front of Luo Nan. Only now did he cast his gaze towards Luo Nan. The meaning of scrutiny was extremely thick, and his thick eyebrows were knotted together. Your friend? Dating? How is that possible? Baiyu nearly jumped up again, but she retreated in defeat under the gaze of the man in formal attire. She could only speak pitifully. Brother Jing, you've misunderstood. This is my best friend's husband. Husband my ass. Chatting with Baiyu was very relaxing, but being entangled with her was boring. Luo Nan wanted to communicate with this guardian-like man. But before he could get up, he noticed that Yuqin had returned from the restroom. She didn't see Baiyu when she returned to her seat and looked around blankly. Baiyu waved at her fiercely. She was mindful of the surrounding environment, so she secretly shouted, Xian, don't get lost. Over here. Yuqin turned her head when she heard this. She was separated by an aisle and saw that Baiyu was actually sitting together with Luo Nan. She was immediately stupefied. Baiyu shouted at her, Hurry up and come claim your boyfriend. Don't let Brother Jing misunderstand. Aren't we together? Luo Nan lowered his head to look at the number of cups on the table. He knew that this fathead fish was probably in a real tragedy. Brother Jing clearly saw through this, but he didn't say anything. His gaze shifted back and forth between Luo Nan and Yuqin. He seemed to be deep in thought. Yuqin hesitated for 2 seconds. In the end, she walked over and stood by the table. She quietly shot a glance at Luo Nan during this process. Then she slightly lowered her head. She was probably trying to find a balance between respect and calmness. But unfortunately she failed. Her slightly fast heartbeat, her controlled breathing, her nervous system's inhibition and counter-inhibition. Every detail exposed her nervous state of mind. Baiyu wouldn't be able to see through this, but the man in formal attire across from her would probably be able to see some clues. But then again, this man gave Luo Nan a strange feeling. Luo Nan thought for a bit and took advantage of the situation to get up. He faced Yuqin and said, You can sit inside. This is... Luo Nan was asking Baiyu, but Yuqin, who was still standing there without moving, quivered. She took half a step forward and said softly, This is Mingtang Culture's manager, Mr. Hai Jing. Hai Jing? Luo Nan was curious. Before Luo Nan could figure it out, Hai Jing's serious face relaxed from astonishment and bewilderment. In the end, it transformed into a carefree smile. Master, is that you? Chapter 452. Upon closer inspection, the title was just a knock on the door. The true key was the smile on Hai Jing's face. He opened his mouth wide and revealed his teeth. His unrestrained and smooth expression instantly broke through the solemn temperament of his formal attire. It caused the clean face before Luonan's eyes to overlap with a large face with sideburns. Hai Jing, the first lead singer of Mountain Stream, the band Emoya belonged to. That was 6 years ago. Emoya was still in her 3rd year of high school at the time. She had just joined the band and obtained the position of melody guitarist with her skillful technique. Luonan was just a brat who wasn't even 10 years old. He had yet to start researching formatting theory. In today's sense, life had yet to begin. However, Luonan still had some impressions in his chaotic and blurry memories. Hai Jing, the lead singer of the band at the time, had a resounding and clear voice. It could be said that he had a gorgeous voice. He was the type that Luonan could accept in the noisy and chaotic underground rock circle. It could be said that the entire Mountain Stream band style was built around this lead singer. Emoya's gorgeous solo performance, known as the Palace on Strings, brought out the best in Luonan's style. Many times they would be called low-level, vulgar, and trendy dogs in the circle because of this. Emoya had cried because of this. The one who had hugged and comforted her back then was Hai Jing. Luonan had always been conservative. This kind of intimate and caring attitude was already beyond his expectations. So Luonan had the impression that Hai Jing had been a candidate for brother-in-law for quite some time. But later this potential brother-in-law suddenly disappeared from her memory. Tieske, the human memory mechanism was really strange. A small trigger was able to make the already gray images regain color and flow. Luonan was immersed in his memories. He seemed to have returned to that ignorant and clean world. There were some subtle changes in his emotions. He subconsciously laughed. "Brother Jing, long time no see. You're actually a manager now." Hai Jing laughed. "You came to see Emoya's performance? She said she would treat me to lunch." Then thank me." Hai Jing pointed at his own nose. "I was the one who booked the restaurant. Didn't you know? Emoya and the others just signed a 2-year contract with Mingtang. I just so happened to be in charge of today's performance." "Ah, you signed a contract?" Luonan was a bit embarrassed. He really didn't know. Just a week ago. They performed well at the Manching Music Festival, and the company was optimistic about their prospects. "Has Emoya been hiding outside for the past few days?" I've really offended my aunt." Hai Jing's deep understanding of Emoya made Luonan vaguely believe that Emoya had always been here for the past few years. Hai Jing nodded. He pondered for a moment as if he was considering something. In the end he pointed upwards. "Emoya and the others are rehearsing now. They are in the same place as Dahl and the others. Do you want to go and take a look?" Before Luonan could respond, Baiyu was already dumbstruck. "What? Why can't I invite Qin Xiener?" Hai Jing glanced at her. "Shangxi's contract is a management contract, while yours is a training contract. That is the difference." Baiyu was immediately defeated. But then she saw that Luonan was looking in the direction of Hai Jing's finger. Luonan had a very focused appearance and she couldn't help but spit. "Hey! There are still over 10 floors." Of course, Luonan wouldn't say that he had locked onto Emoya's position through his mental senses. He just nodded and smiled at Baiyu before asking Hai Jing, "Is it convenient?" Hai Jing seemed to have thought things through. This is Shangxi's first performance since they transformed from an underground band. The scene tonight will be huge. I'm worried that they'll be nervous. Having a family nearby will certainly help. I heard that it's a scale of several 100,000 people? The company estimates that it can reach 1 million people at its peak. Rock bands naturally have an advantage in this kind of occasion. It's an excellent opportunity. 1 million people. Luonan clicked his tongue. Emoya, that fellow. She really went wherever there was excitement. But was their band already at the level where they could perform in public at a large-scale event with 1 million people? How about this? Touch me with your wristband and I'll give you the authority. Since the security around the plaza has been upgraded, we can only use a face-to-face invitation to increase the authority. Luckily, I still have a spot on my side. Doll, what are you doing? Baiyu withdrew her finger and had an innocent expression. Brother Jing, are you trying to ruin their date? Are you trying to break up an affectionate couple? This wasn't the end. Luonan rolled his eyes. Next to him, Yuqin took a quiet breath. She raised the teapot and poured tea for Luonan. Her demeanor was refined and gentle, and it matched perfectly with Baiyu. Yuqin's appearance was definitely because she still had lingering fears from the conflict last time. She was deliberately acting low and small. Luonan felt that it was pointless. He waved his hand and was about to speak, but Hai Jing spoke first. One is a hire. 2 is also a hire. It just so happens that the company is short on manpower right now. I'll just take in 2 temporary workers. Brother Jing, you have a lot of knowledge. Bai Yu gasped in admiration. She gave Hai Jing a thumbs up and winked at Yu Qin. Yu Qin forced a smile and took another deep breath. She stole a glance at Luo Nan and remained silent. Hai Jing quickly shared the authority with them. Then he got up and said, "Let's not waste time. Let's go back." "Sorry for the trouble, Brother Jing." "It's nothing. You guys coming is the same as helping me." "Ha. Don't worry. You won't get tired even if there's work." A sliver of earth. Hai Jing chuckled when he saw Luo Nan's appearance. He rubbed Luo Nan's head in passing. "Little fellow, when did you become so mature?" Luo Nan was stupefied. Hai Jing was a bit embarrassed when she saw Luo Nan's expression. "Don't mind me. My hand slipped. It's okay. You're the big brother." Luo Nan didn't care at all. "I remember calling you uncle at the very beginning. You had a beard back then." "Aya, you still remember?" Hai Jing grinned and pulled a bit of distance away from Luo Nan. He leaned against the opposite wall of the practice room and took out an exquisite box from his pocket. There were 3 e-cigarettes arranged neatly inside. He picked one up and put it in his mouth. His words were a bit unclear. "Back then you were really muddle-headed. You look stupid." The temperature of his mouth triggered the switch of the e-cigarette as he spoke. There was a crackling sound, and the front of the e-cigarette was slightly red. Smoke rose in spirals. Luo Nan watched the red light on and off the front of the e-cigarette, and some memories from the depths of his brain resurfaced. "Maybe. You even said that my surname shouldn't be Gong. I should be called Gong. If I don't ring, I won't ring. Then you splashed your fruit juice on my face and extinguished the cigarette. Oh, that was my first time visiting your house. I stole a puff in the yard. Why did I have to talk so much? So embarrassing." Hai Jing waved his hand. He stuck his head to the wall and forced his face to the ceiling. He looked like he didn't have the face to see anyone. Perhaps this was also called not being proper. Luo Nan was more familiar with this image compared to Hai Jing's well-dressed suit. He laughed again and said to Hai Jing, "There's no band that doesn't want to sign a contract. I don't know about Emoya. My aunt has always felt that the underground circle is too chaotic. If she knew that Emoya signed with a proper management company, she should be happy. The underground circle is chaotic. This circle isn't peaceful either." The e-cigarette in Hai Jing's mouth shook up and down. Mingtang culture is facing a change in its shares. It's a matter right now. Forget it. Let's not talk about this. Luo Nan felt a bit of empathy. Not being able to enter the circle of the awakened was one thing. Truly entering the inner world seemed to bring all sorts of troubles. Obsession underground. Troubles in the sky. None of them can be avoided. Okay. You've become a philosopher. Did something hasten your maturity? Luo Nan blinked and changed the topic. "Brother Jing, you still quit smoking in the end." "I haven't really smoked for the past 2 years. It's funny when I think about it. I can't quit no matter what when I'm singing. But once I stop singing, it's all over." Hai Jing's wristband vibrated at this time. He lowered his head to look at it. Then he straightened his body and removed the e-cigarette. Here comes the trouble. But, seeing Bai Yu's expression, he took the opportunity to walk over and the 2 of them stood against the wall. Bai Yu let out a sigh of relief. She then lowered her head and crossed her hands over her abdomen. Her posture was as proper as a flight attendant's. At this moment, a group of people happened to pass by. She immediately smiled and greeted them in a low but clear voice, "Sister Weiwei, Director Wu." Even with Luo Nan's eyesight, he wasn't able to see whether or not the powerful woman responded. Instead, a middle-aged man in his 50s spoke to Luo Nan's side, "Don't loiter around outside. If you need to practice, go practice." The dense mass of people walked past. They made a right turn at the end of the corridor, breaking away from Luo Nan and Bai Yu's line of sight. However, Luo Nan's mental senses remained clairvoyant from beginning to end. At the corner was a semi-sealed passageway. The passageway was locked by a transparent electronic door. At the end of the passageway was a carved double door. Behind the door was a rather luxurious suite that could easily fit dozens of people. The group of people walked into the suite. Not long after, the service staff who had just followed them in hurriedly left, most likely having received a task. Seeing the service staff pass by, Bai Yu stuck out her tongue. "I got caught. I have to get out of here." "Hold on, who's that?" "Director Wu. She's the head of the company's artist department. Brother Jing's immediate superior. Of course, she's also our big boss." Bayu's eyes blinked as she spoke. It was as if she was telling Luonan that she was different from the boss she had won a bet with. Luonan's heartbeat sped up a bit when he was stared at by these eyes. Unfortunately, the scene of the ravine and snow-white muscles kept swaying in his mind. He did his best to rid himself of the effects of his hormones and tried to chat normally. That Sister Weiwei should be an artist as well. It looks like she's treated much better than you. How can that be the same? You don't know her? I'm not familiar with the entertainment circle. You really don't know her? What's there to show off? My heart suddenly feels better. Bayu clasped her hands together and made a gesture of thanking God. Then she happily explained to Luonan, that's the pillar of our Mingtang culture, Shiwei. She's a standard A-list artist. She's quite famous in East Asia and Southeast Asia. Shiwei? You don't have any impression? No, I can remember a bit. She debuted as a super pure and innocent celebrity. She seems to have successfully transformed her career. Her acting path is quite wide. There was a period of time when Mo Peng was very obsessed with her. He borrowed money from me to buy peripherals. Bayu let out a long sigh. Peripherals? When we debuted, peripherals were half sold and half given away. Even so, we still accumulated half a warehouse. She's not like Sister Wei. He signaled for Luonan to come over and instructed, you and Assistant Meng exchange numbers. Remove the nameplate and go to Ruifeng building. Bring back the pre-ordered breakfast set. I've already trained you guys on how to hide from reporters. Be smart. There was no need to explain the cause and effect. Luonan couldn't refuse in this situation. Otherwise he would be digging a hole for Haijing. He responded honestly, removed the nameplate, turned around and left. Director Wu and Assistant Meng returned to the suite. Luonan quickly walked through the hallway, but just as he passed room 5621, a crack in the door of the practice room opened. Bayu poked her head out. Oh, the refreshments of Ruifeng building. They're so damn expensive. And they don't have takeout service. I can only pick them up from their doorstep. But I heard that they're good for your looks. I really need to run errands this time. The girl had been eavesdropping through the crack in the door all this time. Luonan didn't care about running errands. Haijing was able to bring him in. Why couldn't he do something? He asked casually, do you want some? I'll give you some along the way. There's no need for refreshments. I can't afford them. She turned around and said a few words into the room. A few seconds later she poked her head out again. She blinked her eyes fiercely and did her best to charm. Brother Luonan, come in for a bit, okay? Luonan sighed and entered the room according to her words. 4 gazes fell upon him as soon as he entered the room. He recognized Cat Eyes and Yu Qin. There were also 2 young girls who were a bit older than Bayu. They were undoubtedly the other 2 members of the BHD group. Haijing had mentioned before that one of them was Shui Yuan, who had the nickname of Housekeeper. The other was Clara, Barbie. As members of a girl group, their personas were quite distinct. The one who was drenched in sweat and had a white towel draped over her shoulder was frowning as she looked over. She was most likely Shui Yuan. She had a serious face and her figure was the most well-proportioned and fit. As for Clara, she was undoubtedly the charming mixed-blood beauty. Her skin was as white as milk and her looks were extremely high. Bayu giggled and clapped. Hurry up, hurry up. High-end free labor is only available once. Boss Luo is going to Ruifeng Road to pick up takeout. Anyone who wants to pick up something along the way, hurry up and sign up. The floor is closed right now. If you miss this opportunity, you'll have no hope at all. Shredded radish? The charming Clara let out a low laugh. She was amorous and she was much more mature than her age. She also casually created a new nickname for Luonan. Barbie. Doll. As the captain, Shui Yuan naturally opened her mouth to reprimand her team members for their impolite actions. But when the nicknames of these 2 were linked together, it was quite funny. Chapter 455. The group of people all rolled over in laughter. But these girls did not know how much complicated information was contained in Luonan and Cat Eye's conversation. They also did not know what sort of sharpness was hidden in their gazes. Luonan was drunk when faced with such a believer who was unconvinced and had a tendency to self-destruct. Shui Yuan, who was next to Luonan, thought of something. She suggested, let's first exchange numbers. We'll send our orders to student Luo to avoid mistakes and to avoid transferring again. Bayu was the first to agree. But she turned around and revealed a fierce expression. If the private numbers of 3 future idols get out, you're dead for sure. Unfortunately, no matter how much she twisted her face, her adorable round face could only show cuteness. Luo Nan shrugged and extended his hand to exchange numbers with them. He also gained the friendship of the BHD girl group. He waved his hand, turned around and walked out. You guys hurry up and order your food. Also, please pay attention to the type of food. Fast food and pastries are the best. I don't want to have to wait downstairs for a dozen or 20 minutes after coming back. Baiyu let out an and expressed with extreme innocence, we're all obese. What about body management? Shui Yuan stared at her. Body management has already collapsed the moment you suggested it. But Captain, you didn't refute it. I'll take you guys to strengthen your training for 2 hours. Hypocrite. Pervert. Luo Nan had already opened the door to leave the BHD group's internal strife. At this time, the silent Yuqin walked up to him and whispered into his ear, Mr. Luo, let me go with you. No need, no need. Cat Eyes giggled as she hugged Yuqin's shoulder. She kissed her and firmly pressed her down. Right now he's burning hot. His head has a fever. It'll be better for him to go out by himself. You're the one with a fever, Luo Nan retorted. But when he saw Cat Eye's expression, he understood that something good had happened next door. It was impossible to hide it from her. In fact, Cat Eyes might have even seen his relatively straightforward reaction earlier on. Was it awkward? Of course it was. But his special relationship with Cat Eyes had more or less dispelled a portion of it. He just glared at her and opened the door. Cat Eyes suddenly said, I won't order a meal for you. You can just go to Auspicious Abundance Restaurant and receive a flowing stone set. Simple and quick. Thank you, boss. As she spoke, Cat Eyes gave him a salute. Luo Nan turned his head, speechless for a time. He didn't know the market price of Ruifeng Restaurant, but from the look of fear on Baiyu's face, he could tell how powerful the flowing stone was. Fortunately, he had just earned a large sum of money last night, so he had some confidence. In the end, he just waved his hand and walked out of the door. Chapter 456. Yuqin and Clara's friendship had not yet reached the stage of judging behind her back, so she only smiled. As it turned out, the possibility of finding a luggage cart in the lobby of an office building was almost zero. In the end, the two of them still had to use the simplest method of manual labor to move the food boxes into the elevator. Let's move one batch first. Later you guard the elevator. I'll move the rest over. All right. By the way, call them, especially Clara. Just wait outside the elevator. It's a waste not to use the labor. Once we arrive at the station, we'll split them up. Yuqin obeyed obediently and really called the other side. Then the two of them picked up the big and small food boxes and walked inside. Since it was a private elevator, not many people used it. They didn't see anyone else on the way. It was also at this moment that Yuqin finally broke the veil. Mr. Luo, I'm very sorry. Luo Nan gazed at the long corridor in front of him. He was a bit helpless. I don't care about that matter. I know. Yuqin lowered her eyes and smiled faintly, her meaning subtle. I can see that. However, I said, sorry, because if I didn't do something unnecessary to confirm it from you, I wouldn't be able to feel at ease. That's why I pestered you so much today. Please forgive me. Only then did Luo Nan shoot her a glance. He nodded and said, it's fine. Before Yuqin could say anything else, the elevator in front of them opened and a middle-aged man hurried out. He was dressed in formal attire, and the style was quite similar to that of Hai Jing. He took off the nameplate on his chest as he walked. Luo Nan's eyes were sharp. He saw that it was the pass to Mingtang Culture's floor. As they walked past each other, the man glanced at him. His wristband rang at that moment. He quickly answered the call and answered, yes, I'm Xiao Xia. It's on the first floor of the Tonghui building. Just come over, I'll wait outside. No problem, there's absolutely no problem with the authority. Luo Nan piled up the food boxes in the elevator and left Yuqin to look after them. Then he went back and moved them a second time. In the lobby, he saw the man with the surname Xia standing straight outside the door like an old doorman. Luo Nan didn't mind. He carried the remaining food containers back to the elevator and tidied things up with Yuqin. They both swiped their nameplates and prepared to go up. A second later, the elevator doors opened again. He could vaguely hear the man surnamed Xia panting outside. I made it. Young master, please. A group of people hurried in as they spoke. The leader of the group cursed, Xia City really has enough paparazzi. Luo Nan and Yuqin had already paid great attention to their placement, but there were far too many food boxes. The people who came later were in a rush. The person at the front nearly kicked over a food box when they swarmed in. Actually, Luo Nan had already kicked him, but Luo Nan used his interference power to move along with the force without making a sound. The momentum was eliminated and Luo Nan passed smoothly. He did it very discreetly. In the elevator, be it Yuqin or the person who came in first, none of them noticed. But outside the elevator, there was a strong reaction from the people who were entering one after another. They rushed forward and grabbed the shoulder of the person in the lead, forcefully pulling him back. His aura exploded, stirring up great waves. Luo Nan's mental senses had already covered the newcomer. He had not sensed the ability user earlier. However, in that instant, the person who had reacted first had actually leaped from an extremely ordinary state to at least C+. His explosive power was astonishing, and his ability to conceal his aura was even more impressive. Luo Nan's relaxed mind suddenly went taut. He locked onto the most threatening target in the first instance. He subconsciously extended his arm to block Yuqin behind him. But the scene suddenly changed in the next moment. Someone shouted, "Young Master He," and rushed up in a hurry. It was the person with the surname Sha, who was suspected to be an employee of Mingtang culture. The weather was obviously cold, but this person's face was covered in a layer of sweat. The sweat moistened his dry and loose cheeks. His face seemed to glow faintly and he was especially excited. "What's going on?" "The elevator is broken." The person with the surname Sha saw Luo Nan and Yuqin in the exclusive elevator. There were food boxes of all sizes by their feet. He was stunned, but soon he said angrily, "What's going on with you guys? This is an exclusive elevator assigned to our company. Non-authorized personnel are not allowed to enter." Luo Nan didn't pay attention to him. He just cautiously scanned everyone outside the elevator. He saw two familiar faces in a row, and it was inevitable that he was a bit surprised. At the same time, the most threatening person should have recognized him. His solemn expression loosened a bit. He bowed slightly, an apology for his overreaction just now. "Mr. Luo, what's the situation?" Qin Ikuin, who was outside the building, communicated through the hexaear. His tone was nervous. The instantaneous explosion of the aura just now had appeared on the security team's monitoring equipment. It was truly a stone that stirred up 1,000 ripples. To put it bluntly, it was a complete mess. "It's a misunderstanding. It's nothing." Luo Nan privately replied to Qin Ikuin. He found it a bit funny. In the end, was it a large-scale event to attract people? Or were the people of Xia City evil? Today's acquaintances were jumping out one by one. It was impossible to stop them. Luo Nan took care of both sides at the same time. It was inevitable that he would overlook the least important person. He didn't open his mouth, but Yuqin stepped forward and spoke in a soft voice. "We followed Director Wu's instructions to go to Ruifeng building to get some refreshments for Sister Weiwei. You know, it's not convenient for Assistant Meng to leave right now." This reason was sufficient. The person with the surname Sha seemed to believe it. "You guys are from Mingtang culture? Where's the nameplate?" Director Wu had arranged for Luo Nan to remove his nameplate before leaving to avoid running into paparazzi reporters. Luo Nan forgot to hang his nameplate on his chest after entering the elevator and swiping his nameplate. He stuffed it back into his pocket. Most of Yuqin's body was blocked behind him, so this person probably didn't see it. The other person's words were quite reasonable. Luo Nan took out his nameplate and spread it out in his palm, displaying it for the other person to see. The person with the surname Sha simply took the nameplate and blinked. His contact lenses scanned the nameplate, and the relevant information was read out. "Authorized by Haijing." "And yours?" Yuqin copied Luo Nan and handed over her nameplate. The person with the surname Sha received it and confirmed it once more before nodding. It looked like he approved of it. He even revealed a smile on his face. "So you guys were brought by Haijing. Since you guys are Haijing subordinates, have you never asked who their department head is?" There was such a thing? Luo Nan was just about to explain when he heard a loud bang. This Director Sha smashed the side wall of the elevator with force. "Which family do you guys belong to? You came in through crooked means? Mountain Creek or B? Speak." Luo Nan knew that things were bad when Manager Sha's expression suddenly changed. The two of them had indeed gone through the back door. They could accept being reprimanded. But Director Sha's words clearly put a label on Haijing. The meaning behind it was quite deep. Luo Nan frowned. The two acquaintances, outside the elevator, were watching with cold eyes. He didn't want to engage in a meaningless conflict and make a fool of himself, so he said, "We really were upstairs helping out. Every single bastard says the same thing. Then they do whatever they want to do." Director Sha sneered. "Director Wu has a myriad of problems to deal with every day. He only recognizes nameplates and not people. It's not strange that you guys have Haijing supporting you from behind. Everyone knows that Sister Wei has the habit of having morning and afternoon tea. But don't tell me you guys bought all of this for Sister Wei? Okay, you guys don't need to say anything. I'll have Haijing explain things to Director Wu. Director Xia quickly blinked twice and took a picture of Luo Nan and Yu Qin. He raised his chin. Leave Sister Wei's tea and snacks behind. Take the rest out. Be more self-aware or else I'll call security. Director Xia turned his body after he finished speaking coldly. His arrogant figure instantly bent in half, and the wrinkles on his face piled up. Young He, please wait a moment. We'll be done here soon. Chapter 457. No matter what, Yu Qin was born into a wealthy family. Even though she was submissive to Luo Nan, she was extremely arrogant in her bones. Director Xia was a department head of a management company, yet he was arrogant and bossy. He even spat out the words, "Get lost." How could she endure this? Show some respect. Miss, do you think it would be more respectful to let the security guards come and drag you away? Director Xia looked at Yu Qin's clothes. Most of them were fashionable items and her matching was quite good. He knew that this woman's family was quite well off. Normally he wouldn't have directly shed all pretense of cordiality. But right now he was backed by the young master of the He family. In a few days he would be like a fish leaping into a dragon. What was there to be afraid of? Director Xia held a breath of heroism as he stood in front of the elevator door. He felt more and more at ease. He didn't waste words and directly called for the building's security guards. He finished calling and saw that Luo Nan and Yu Qin had no intention of coming out. He wasn't in a hurry. He reached out and pointed at the two. Shameless, huh? Fine. You guys stay here. Director Xia directly confiscated their nameplates and used his authority to lock down the elevator. Only then did he turn around and smile once more. Apologies, Young He. I wasn't strict enough with my subordinates. I've made a fool out of myself. There's no reason to reason with these idle-chasing kids. I'll deal with the relevant personnel of the company severely later. Young He, don't let them ruin your mood. I'll have the property management open up a backup elevator. It won't take much time. Young He chuckled outside the elevator. It's fine. Director Xia handled things well. You've thought things through very thoroughly. It's my duty. It's my duty. Young He, this way please. Director Xia relaxed completely when he saw that Young He didn't blame him. He twisted his face and gave Luo Nan and Yu Qin a cold glance. He was about to walk out of the elevator when he remembered something. Give me Sister Wei's refreshments. He wanted to be bold and confident, but Luo Nan and Yu Qin were disinclined to pay attention to him. Director Xia saw that the security guards had already come over from the other end of the corridor. He was even more fearless. He simply did it himself. He lowered his head and searched through the food boxes on the floor. He had seen the refreshments and food boxes of Ruifeng building before. According to his thoughts, there was only one such high-end custom-made food box in the elevator. He could just take it away if he found it. He believed that this young couple wouldn't dare to snatch it. But when he cast his gaze over, Director Xia was stunned. 1, 2, 3? 3 maroon food boxes specially made by Ruifeng restaurant were neatly arranged at the innermost end of the elevator. Chapter 458. He Dong Lu, temporarily unemployed, a vagrant. The elevator went up quickly. Young master, he introduced himself. He looked humorous, friendly and elegant. It was as if the scene of him hugging his shoulders and laughing strangely was all a dream. Hello, young master, he. Yu Qin extended her hand and lightly shook He Donglu's hand. Luo Nan gave a simple introduction according to etiquette. Yu Qin. Classmate. Actually, the relationship was a bit more complicated, but Luo Nan was disinclined to explain it to He Donglu. Hello, classmate. You have unlimited possibilities. He Donglu recovered his mischievous demeanor. However, he stopped there and didn't continue teasing. Didn't he step forward just now to control the situation? He absolutely couldn't let the dangerous person in front of him fly into a rage out of humiliation. Since they had appeared here, there was a high chance that they would continue to cross paths. He was here to amuse himself. There was no need for him to put himself in danger. Oh, and don't clash with the target. At this time, Yu Qin's bracelet vibrated. It was Bai Yu and the others who were anxiously waiting at the elevator making a phone call. Yu Qin didn't mention the conflict downstairs. She simply said a few words and hung up. He Donglu swept his eyes over the rapidly changing numbers on the panel. He said with a smile, "Many thanks, old bro. You personally brought the takeout. This is a great favor. I'll get Shiwei to toast you a few more cups later. If she has any good friends, I'll introduce them to you first." Luo Nan responded in a lukewarm tone, "It was just in passing. No need to be polite." Though Luo Nan said this, he still gave He Donglu a few more glances. After all, it was gossip about an A-list celebrity. He had just read it with Baiyu. Even if Shi Wei was an A-lister, she would not have the guts to cheat in front of young Master Kong Tianhe. This was probably the legendary, changing the scene. The atmosphere in the elevator became a lot more natural. He Donglu pointed at the food boxes on the floor and said with a smile, "Then old bro, who are you visiting? Look at this amount, TSK, isn't this too much of a philanthropist? I, your brother, am willing to admit defeat." Luo Nan didn't beat around the bush. "My cousin's band is performing tonight. There are also a few new friends I've made." He Donglu was very surprised. "Ah, then I really have to support you. Her band is Shanxi. She just signed a contract with Ming Tang. She's not that famous." He Donglu's brows jumped. "Just signed? At this time?" Luo Nan's gaze was focused. "Is there something wrong? Brother, it seems like your sensitivity is not high enough. Don't you know which company owns Ming Tang Culture?" He Donglu didn't intentionally leave him hanging. He quickly answered his own question, "The Ancient Castle Financial Group, the Blood Flame Order." Baiyu immediately replied, "Where is Boss Luo? Face the wall and reflect on your mistakes." After that there was nothing else. Baiyu stared blankly at the message for quite some time. In the end, her body felt weak as she leaned her head against the door. She was extremely depressed. "See, my reaction just now was too extreme. Why would I run?" Almost at the same time, Manager Sha wanted to cry too. "Why did I overreact like that?" He stuck close to the base of the wall. Otherwise he wouldn't be able to stand steadily. The smile on his face had long stiffened, but he didn't dare to change. The child in front of him looked to be 15 or 16 years old. He wasn't as tall as him and he didn't have a fierce expression on his face. On the contrary, he looked a little wooden. Yet he felt an unreasonable amount of pressure. Even if he was up against the big boss of Ming Tang Culture, he wouldn't be so indecisive. It was Clara's passing by that gave him a chance to catch his breath. Finally, his brain started to work. It was obvious that Boss Luo had a good relationship with the BHD group. Was she his target? According to his many years of experience when it came to relationships between men and women, a teenager would be confused, thirsty and possessive. Hence, they would be relatively complicated. Apart from those who matured early, most teenagers would be impulsive and wouldn't have a particularly heavy taste. But, to be involved in multiple targets at the same time, if he wasn't a veteran, who else could be? But he didn't look like one. Was he good at disguising himself? The type that liked to play around with people's feelings? But, the way he flirted with her wasn't like that at all. Manager Sha felt that he was really in a dilemma. Never in his wildest dreams would he have thought that, with his usual style of doing things, he would be so blind as to offend the son-in-law of Kong Tianhe. Of course, this was just a description. No matter what, Boss Luo was definitely the kind of person he couldn't afford to offend. Since he had done something stupid, he had to make up for it. What could he use to make up for it? He could only use his old profession. As a department manager of an entertainment company, he had many resources that ordinary people were envious of. But compared to a wealthy family like Kong Tianhe, it was a joke. The other party used him for fun. Otherwise, with just a thought, they could turn him into ashes with just a puff of air. Fun was the key word in everything. The best resource he had was none other than the banquet that was going to be organized soon. It was a carnival created by the libertines in the entertainment circle. There were some mysterious elements in it, and it had always been one of the most high-end symbols in the relevant circles. If Boss Luo liked this kind of thing, it would be ideal to do him a favor at little cost. But he still had some rationality left in him. Moreover, they were the domineering type. They were not old, but they were quite philanthropic. Manager Sha didn't care about anything else. He made promises and the like. No problem at all. Really? Hai Jing is very protective of Shangxi, right? You know that too? Manager Sha was really excited. To tell you the truth, there will be a major change in the company in the near future. Whether or not Hai Jing can keep its rice bowl is still uncertain. Halfway through his sentence, his heart suddenly stopped. Wait, what am I saying? This Boss Luo is obviously related to Hai Jing. He is most likely an acquaintance. Am I crazy? Luo Nan's voice entered her ears during her moment of panic and bewilderment. Is Mrs. Halder really going to withdraw completely? When these words entered his ears, Manager Xia shuddered again. Not only did this boss Luo know about the financial group behind Mingtang culture, he even called Madame Halder by her name. It must be known that he was a mid-level employee of a subsidiary company. It was only by chance that he found out about the true background of the financial group and the name of the true big boss. Even if Madame Halder's influence in Xia City was like a faded flower, knowing was knowing and her attitude was still this casual, this was F***king level. Manager Xia's entire body was trembling. Excitement and fear coexisted. Under the surging emotions, the worries that had just leaped out, as well as the thoughts and consciousness that he couldn't figure out, were all drowned out. His thoughts grew more and more fuzzy. He really wanted to have a good chat with Boss Luo. Unfortunately, this sort of matter wasn't something he could comment on. Right now he could only smile foolishly. Luo Nan scanned the words on the virtual screen once more. Finally he raised his hand. Manager Xia was instantly struck with happiness when she saw this action. She wanted to move her hand over, but her arm was stiff. She could only use her other hand to support herself and carefully stick her wristbands together. Half a second later, the screen of Luo Nan's wristband lit up, revealing a classic DNA double helix structure diagram. Soon, the double helix structure scattered into thousands of meaningless numbers, piecing back together to form a disc-shaped diagram. 3 seconds later it faded away. Manager Xia stared fixedly at the screen of Luo Nan's wristband. She let out a long sigh of relief when she saw the garbled diagram appear. She subconsciously groaned, then laughed in spite of herself. It's past. It's past. Luo Nan's face was expressionless the entire time, but his ears jumped a few times. The hexa-ear hidden deep within his ear canal transmitted a message the moment the screen of his wristband lit up. It was the intelligent voice of the psychic wave network. Serial number 5357, it has been detected that there is an external reading operation on your social privileges record. The operator is the SCA Supercomputer Level 2 AI, Rank 9. According to the confidentiality regulations, priority is given to data protection. During the protection period you can choose 1. Unblock after detecting the danger level. 2. Perform multiple levels of encryption. 3. Carry out data camouflage. All of your operations will be recorded in a copy for future review. If the selected operation is forcefully terminated, please contact the relevant person in charge. The intelligent voice ended and the verification happened to pass. Luo Nan shook his hand as if he had gained something. Outsourcing verification services to the SCA? This is quite a high-end atmosphere. A thought flashed through his mind, and his gaze shifted to meet Manager Xia's. He nodded lightly. You've worked hard. 2 minutes later, the door to room 5621 opened, and Luo Nan walked in with his head lowered. Baiyu immediately leaped up and asked, "You're back. Are you all right? Did he make things difficult for you?" "What? Butcher. Did Manager Xia do anything to you?" Luo Nan shook his head. He just wanted to know the ins and outs of the situation. He didn't make things difficult for me knowing that Brother Haijing brought me in. When the 3 members of the BHD group heard this reply, their eyes had the expression, "Keep bragging." Baiyu wanted to ask more questions, but she was pulled back by Shui Yuan. She whispered, "Since it's already in the past, don't get to the bottom of it. There's no harm in asking." Clara pulled her back as well. Men care about their faces. What if we get lectured? No, since we already got lectured, it would hurt our pride to talk about it. Baiyu turned her head and saw that Luo Nan had returned. He found a corner and sat down. His head was lowered, and he had a rather dejected appearance. She hesitated for a moment and finally decided to change the topic. "Hey, didn't you want to go visit them? They're busy right now." Luo Nan used his mental senses to observe the progress of Moya and the others' practice as he conversed with Manager Xia. He knew that the rare resting window had already passed. He could only wait for the next one. It was almost lunchtime. Luo Nan continued to lower his head after dealing with Baiyu. Actually, most of his attention was still locked onto Manager Xia. Manager Xia's life sketch was dim and lightless in comparison within the resplendent living starry sky. Its structure was very simple. It was nothing more than a few lines of starlight. However, if one focused on it and continued to permeate it, one would be able to see a bit more information. In a certain sense, the life sketch was just a window leading to the mysteries of the body and mind of others. One needed to do further observation and the corresponding coding and decoding work in order to obtain more detailed information. The Wraith sign was an expert in this field. The information that came from Manager Xia's life sketch was scattered and subtle. It involved consciousness, memories, emotions, and many other most precise and complex functions. And all of this was in the palm of his hand, allowing him to fiddle with it. Only after Luo Nan recovered from these direct impacts did he notice the lyrics, the song, the singing skills, and the characteristics of each member's temperament. Luo Nan really was unable to shift his eyes away. Unknowingly, there was an awkward feeling of dryness spreading throughout his body. The feeling was especially intense in certain areas. Cat Eye's voice cut in at this time. Do you see the problem? Luo Nan wanted to speak, but he was unable to say anything in the end. He could only shake his head awkwardly. Cat Eyes raised an eyebrow, and the topic of conversation changed in an instant. Tiski, you only have one good point. Luo Nan glared at her. He didn't try to conceal it. This is instinct. But I'm not a beast. Before his voice fell, Cat Eyes clearly blew a breath of air into his ear. The warm, itchy, and numb feeling radiated to his entire head in an instant. What accompanied it was a low and hoarse laughter. If you're worse than a beast, then you're really done for. This was right under the eyes of others. Luo Nan was shocked at first, but then his fury wrapped in restless emotions and burned all the way up. What the hell are you doing? Chapter 463. Since Cat Eyes and Luo Nan were shoulder to shoulder, she slid down Luo Nan's chest the moment she curled up. Her bent elbow struck a vital spot. Luo Nan's instinctive reaction had yet to subside, but he only furrowed his brows at Cat Eyes' more stimulating actions. He pushed Cat Eyes away. You can see a psychiatrist. Let's go together. Cat Eyes did not care what pose Luo Nan wanted to take. Her attitude was relaxed, as if she was joking with a close friend. However, the words that came out of her mouth were extremely strange. Did you know? Most of the awakened ones who were still in puberty rarely suppressed themselves. Whether it was psychologically or physically, they had strong stimulations and needs. This was the norm. But now the problem is you can still make it physically, but psychologically it's a little strange. She didn't give Luo Nan a chance to refute. Her eyeballs shifted to the other side and she pointed at Yuqin. For example, you should know that, smart girl. All you need to do is crook your finger, and she absolutely wouldn't mind using this sort of method to mend the relationship. That's enough from you. Awakened ones aren't born stallions, okay? Luo Nan's words were like this, constantly ponder, his eyes unconsciously shot a glance in Yuqin's direction. During this period of time, Yuqin's followers, clearly not on the song such as myself, though she was sitting upright and still, she will tend to gaze over from time to time. You think too much. She was paying attention to the atmosphere of interaction between Luo Nan and Cat Eyes. Right when he was about to have a serious conversation with her, Cat Eyes stared fixedly at Luo Nan. It seemed that she would not give up until she detected the beast collided into Luo Nan's body. Their heads bumped into each other, and the sound was painful. Yeah, a different kind of pervert. The two women hugged their heads and becoming more and more like some people. Bayu was in so much pain that tears rolled down her face. Although the statistics such a low-level mistake based on the current information tonight, a similar situation would probably be fighting for the head gods and children of God who became extraordinary so long time ago. Postures in such a deranged manner was eye-piercing and heart-piercing. Think highly of me. The fact that the BHD trio managed to hold on until now before making a mistake was because they were faced closer once more. Luo Nan pulled her voice became cold and hoarse. Cat Eyes acted as if nothing had happened. I'm afraid of you. She just clapped her hands again. This time Luo Nan didn't push her away. The AR effects on stage are even more chaotic. The distance between the two won't even have the chance to hug your each other's cry. People would believe it if they said they were kissing from a different angle. They just instinctively swayed along with the music and sang along to the lyrics. Unfortunately, six gazes revolved around Luo Nan and Cat Eyes. Neither of them had any thoughts of romance. Cat Eyes was not demanding. Boss, she just said to Luo Nan, Cat Eyes' breath faintly carried the fresh fragrance of tea. Their appearance, the meaning behind her words was sluggish and in charge that lasted no more than 10 seconds. You maintain a distance with from this your as believers? The skeleton, a team was built, side, and the three of them were found one after another. But it's a trainee. Right now, the experiment has just begun. The person in charge is already impatient to let them go on stage. Right now, their biggest problem is that they don't have enough people. For example, on tonight's stage, there will inevitably be a visual blank. Their singing skills are far from being able to support a stage of 1 million people. So, they can only use backup dancers or large amounts of AR images to fill in the blanks, creating a situation where the host is usurped. Failure is inevitable. Luo Nan raised an eyebrow. You're a teacher. Is it really okay to curse your own students? A wondrous smile formed on Cat Eyes' lips. This isn't the first time BHD has failed. Their debut song lacks any special characteristics. They haven't even made a splash. They've failed to make it onto the charts. They don't have any endorsements to this day. Mingtang culture's internal allocation of resources is also very stingy. In the next 1 or 2 years, the company will probably make adjustments to them in terms of positioning and personnel. They will try them one by one. But the patience of a businessman is always limited. They will either find the right path and become successful and famous, or their team will disintegrate and find their next home. Their path to stardom will be dim and even abandoned. Having said this, Cat Eyes turned her head to look at Luo Nan once more. You can say that you have some friendship with them. If you want to send them some words of encouragement, what should you say? Work hard. TSK. What in the world are you trying to say? I'm sorry, but the word work hard doesn't play a decisive role in determining their future. The one who truly controls them is Mingtang Culture's artiste department. They are the person in charge who single-handedly forged them. The direction drawn by these people is the most crucial factor in the survival or destruction of the BHD group. Boss, is this my future destiny? Luo Nan wanted to refute her, but just as he opened his mouth, the words stuck in his throat. Right now he was looking straight into Cat Eyes' pupils. At the same time he was grasping her life sketches and the structure of her body and soul. He gently plucked at the crisscrossing chains between them. In this state, even the slightest change in Cat Eyes could not escape his grasp. Could it still not be called fate? I've been flipping through nearly all the information related to the leaders of the order for some time now. The growth of nearly every god is established on a foundation that goes against human nature and the common sense of society. Your understanding of the world is on another level. Cat Eyes reached out her hand and gently touched Luo Nan's cheek. Her seemingly gentle movements were actually more like touching a cold, hard, and dignified statue of a god. There was observation, there was fear, there was inquiry, but there was no emotion factor between people. The will of a god is immeasurable. Destiny is the same. But I can tell you clearly, boss. I don't want to meaninglessly sacrifice myself for those inconceivable reasons. If I can't escape in the end, I'd rather die by the hands of a normal man. I understand the cause and effect clearly. Luo Nan frowned at first. Several seconds passed before he suddenly broke into laughter. Was this a prayer? No, this was clearly revenge. This was a declaration of war. Cat Eyes had avoided the pointless direct confrontation. Instead, she vowed to be a stumbling block on his path forward. She would do everything in her power to destroy his path to godhood. From the looks of it, her weapon was the so-called desire of human nature. Up to you. Luo Nan really wanted to emphasize once more that he never had any intentions of becoming a god. Cat Eyes' confrontation was meaningless. But there was no meaning in saying these words too much. His mind spun and his train of thought traced back to the source. He suddenly understood why Cat Eyes suddenly felt fear in her heart. He flipped open his palm and gently clenched it twice. Oh, there was also the technique of distinguishing the root receptacle, root nature, and root trigger taught by Jim Mastershio. It was extremely appropriate to use it here. Many subtle details could be seen. Gradually, the void was divided into layers, and the stars returned to their positions. Although the overall structure was still rough and chaotic, there was a vague distinction between the various stairs. After all, the differences between ordinary people, non-awakened ability users, and awakened were quite obvious. It was practically impossible for a situation of confusion to occur. Luo Nan's mind shook, and he instantly woke up from his half-asleep state. His eyes opened. Plus, he was busy with other matters. He needed to seize every minute and second to communicate with Peony. He left the table to take a call halfway through his meal. Peony narrated the results of her observations. It's suspected that the target's mood is unstable. He's overly sensitive to external stimuli. He has physiological photophobia. His breathing and heartbeat rates are around 12% higher than a normal person's. The difference is significant. These are all evidence that supports your point of view. In theory, we can believe that the mutant virus has brought about an initial transformation and adaptation process to the target. However, if you want to be serious, there are other explanations. In comparison, the reasoning of, it's better to kill the wrong person than to let the wrong person go, is more convincing. How about increasing the sample? Did you discover anything else? Is this a blessing or a curse? Luo Nan's initial ranking of the living starry sky had indeed filtered out more than one target. He leaned against the wall of the corridor and operated his wristband. He used the electronic map to mark the locations of 3 other suspected targets. There was also a moving target, but it was a bit far away. He gave up on it for now. I'll send the map to the cloud space. You can just download it. It doesn't matter if you share it with Trigate Security. Speaking of which, when will their operation team arrive? Let's not think about the operation team for now. With the traffic control in the city center, it would be considered efficient if they arrive within an hour. I just hope that their relationship with the security department is as good as they're bragging about. Wait a moment. I'll take a call. Peony spoke a few simple words after the call connected. She quickly hung up and reported to Luonan, "This is good news. Sky Blue Security, where Long 7 is in charge of emergency support work in the Municipal Plaza area. He's currently bored to death so he can help out. If there are special circumstances, he can also find people to support him." Sky Blue Security? It had been a long time since he had heard of this. Sky Blue Security was a specialized security company under Quantum Corporation. It was an important department that placed Deep Blue walkers. Over a month ago, this department's combat team had a serious conflict with Luonan and Rue-1. Later on, they suffered from Jack's indiscriminate attacks, resulting in disastrous losses. Long 7 or Snake 7 was a member of this combat team. It must be admitted that Sky Blue Security had the strength. Their equipment was comparable to that of the military's elite troops, and their personnel were well trained. In a certain sense, they could be trusted as a support force. Yes, Luonan remembered that Yen Yongbo was once the person in charge of Sky Blue Security in Xia City. But then he was called back to Luo City for a debriefing. It was unclear who the person in charge was now. Luonan didn't care about Sky Blue, Earth Blue, or Quantum Atom. All he wanted was a cat that could catch mice. In any case, this wouldn't affect his pay at all. The only thing that would give him a headache was Trigate Security. Do as you see fit. Call me if there's any progress. Emoya cast a glance at him as soon as Luonan returned to the room. She seemed to be very interested. Girlfriend? Luonan was stunned for a moment, then he shook his head. No. Just an ordinary friend. Hai Jing laughed from the side. So it really is a girl. Emoya raised her hand to look at her watch. A total of 7 minutes and 20 seconds. You didn't dare to hang up on Mother's reprimanding call. This kind of call length should have broken the record. Luonan grimaced in pain. Emoya, that's enough. Could it be that the first thing you did after entering the pop music world was to become vulgar? Hai Jing continued to play the role of a supporting actor. Nanster is very popular with women right now. Not everyone can stay an entire morning in the BHD practice room. The two sang the same tune, not letting go of Luonan. Luonan was annoyed, but his heart stirred when he saw the relatively distant state of the others at the table. We'll be going on stage in 5 hours. What can't you say after that? Malu chuckled. So, before going on stage, a certain manager is like the king of heaven, untouchable? I didn't provoke you. When he provoked me, you even used the corner of your shirt to blow your nose. This is AF * king personal grudge. Then how do you know that a certain agent signed us for the sake of fairness? Huang Xiangdong's face turned red and he almost got up to smash the table. Wang Imo, who was beside him, saw that the situation was not good and rushed forward to hug him. Stop talking, stop talking. However, people were like this. The more they were pulled, the angrier they became. Huang Xiangdong struggled for a while, but to no avail. He turned on his berserk mode and pointed at Ma Lu's nose. Are you AF** King Saint? You've been acting weird since the day you signed the contract. Didn't signing with a commercial company ruin your image? Uncle Ma, Master Ma, if you want to be the king of the industry, you should have said so earlier. If you have the guts, throw your pen away. If you have the guts, go solo. Bang! Emoya slammed the table. It was rare for her to get angry like this. The room was silent for a moment, and then there was another bang. The half-closed door was pushed open, and the waiter pushed in a dining cart. It was filled with beer and there were at least 10 of them. Wang Imo was dumbfounded. Who wants it? Did you send it to the wrong place? I want it. Hai Jing walked back with a cold face. The rehearsal starts at 4 in the afternoon. It'll be your turn at around 5 or 6. According to the schedule, you must go back before 3:30 to prepare. Before that, we can have a good discussion. He threw a small metal box on the table. Hangover medicine for cowards. Ma Lu sneered. Do you think you're acting in a movie? Hai Jing looked over with cold eyes. Red Deer. You're Red Deer. Just look at who's talking about Red Deer. Back in the day, you know which bastard brought me a fan. Now, everyone knows who's feeling guilty and is worried about their reputation. What now? If you have the guts, say it, do it, but if you don't have the guts to admit it? Ma Lu jumped to his feet. He looked like he was going to fight. Hai Jing didn't even bat an eyelid. He just opened the bottle and smashed it on the table. I'll say it like this. Aside from Emoya and Luonan, everyone else in this room is AF** King bastard. Some are arrogant, some are pretentious, some are unrestrained. He smashed a bottle of beer on the table every time he spoke. The foam wrapped around the alcohol spilled out. Surprisingly, no one in the room refuted him. Only Emoya chuckled. She took the initiative to reach out her hand and ask Hai Jing for a bottle of beer. Let's play in a band together. I'm not a good person either. Hai Jing gave her a deep glance and really did hand over a bottle of beer. He completely ignored Luonan. It doesn't matter if you're a rotten bastard or a bad bastard. Just hate yourself before you hate others. If you forget this, then use alcohol to wash your intestines. If you can't do it, then what's the point of playing rock and roll? Luonan still hadn't figured out the grudges between them, but he knew that a single bout of drinking wouldn't resolve the knot in their hearts. Luckily they were all adults. They knew what they had to do and what they should do. It was enough. The reality was that a group of people shouted and fought fiercely. Then 2 of them really did drink until the world spun around them. They were dead drunk. Huang Xiangdong and Ma Lu were dead drunk losers. They were forced to drink hangover medicine. Emoya and the other 2 supported them as they moved forward step by step. The group of drunkards still had a performance at night. Even if they had a small reputation, they would become a laughing stock if they were caught by the media. For this reason, Luonan was the only one who hadn't touched alcohol after the banquet ended. He took on the task of scouting and guiding, leading the drunkards into a relatively secluded underground passageway. Luonan did this sort of task in a relaxed and happy manner. He had already planned out the optimal path to the Tonghui building within his sensing region. It was more powerful than any electronic map. So far, he still had the leisure to pay attention to the tracking of the mutant infection. Of course, he didn't forget about the distribution of the steps below the awakened. Peony communicated with him once more, explaining the current progress. There are 4 suspected targets. All of them are university students who came to participate in the demonstration. All of them are female. Their symptoms are all quite similar. There aren't any obvious differences. For the time being, we'll treat them as infected. From past data, this proves that the stage of infection they are in is subdivided. They are roughly in the same range. Then we can make another hypothesis. The time of infection and the source of infection they came into contact with should be similar. It sounds like there's some progress? There's no pattern to the distribution of their schools. They're from the eastern and western city districts. The same goes for their home addresses. 2 of them were born and raised in Xia City. The other 2 came to study abroad. This doesn't match with the Xiqing district, the River Wu district, and the Forest Wall district that we previously focused on investigating. We haven't discovered any reasonable clues in terms of geographical location, which is also the domain of our early focus of work. So it's like this. Luonan was a bit skeptical when he heard this news. Did he make a mistake in his judgment? After all, the step distribution was a topic he had just begun to research. It was normal for a few mistakes to occur. Peony had a very confident appearance at this time. The 4 targets are all under close surveillance. At the same time, we're already digging deep into their social relationships. Geographical factors are meaningless. Let's research social factors. From a sociological perspective, they are all women. They are of similar age. They are beautiful. This similarity is a clue in and of itself. Overall, we believe in your professional abilities, Mr. Partner. Thank you for your trust. Luo Nan laughed in response. He recalled something. All right. There's another suspect target aside from these 4 targets. She's been moving around the municipal plaza all this time. Since you have enough manpower now, you should monitor that person as well. The moving target never left Luo Nan's range of senses. Luo Nan observed her from a distance as he described her appearance. This is also a woman. She's around 16 or 17 years old. She shouldn't be a university student. She's been shopping with her friends. Oh, she's come out now. She's joined some sort of team. A parade? It's not a parade. I saw a support sign. It should be a fan of some celebrity. They know that there's a performance tonight and they came to the plaza to support them. These fans have always been super organized. Luo Nan had become more experienced in this aspect after spending an entire morning with the BHD group. Peony's focus was different from his. She's also a woman? How's her appearance? She's quite decent. Above average. TSK. You really are a stalker. Why are you so sensitive to women? Speaking of which, I'm also a beauty. Do you want to meet? I said it before. It's just that I have a lot of eyes. Okay. Whatever Mr. Partner says. I won't expose your nature as a shut-in. Hee. The 2 ended the call. Luo Nan shook his head. He had the feeling that Peony was using psychological profiling techniques on him. The more he interacted with her, the clearer his true image would become. With Peony's intelligence, could he really keep his identity a secret? Luo Nan didn't know why Her Majesty Empress Wu would make such an unnecessary move. This situation was quite embarrassing. Luo Nan let out a breath of turbid air and turned his attention back to the back. Emoya and her group were still staggering as they walked. At this speed, it would be up to the blessings of the heavens to be able to return to the Tonghui building by 3:30. Who's that? Luo Nan saw someone walk out from the underground passageway. The timing was perfect. The person just happened to be right in front of Emoya and her group. The person's gaze cut across the group of drunkards before finally stopping on Emoya's face. Though the person was blocking the path, it didn't look like he had any intentions of giving way. Instead, he took the initiative to speak. Emoya? This person should be familiar with Emoya and her group. Luo Nan could see that Emoya was startled for a moment before she happily responded. She didn't feel any sense of unfamiliarity. The middle-aged man's hair was sparse, but he looked very healthy. His body was lean and powerful and there wasn't much fat on his face. When he smiled, his muscles pulled, forming long ravines. He wasn't ugly but he had a grave and stern aura to him. Could he be a soldier? Luo Nan subconsciously used his mental senses to scan the middle-aged man's life sketch. Then he saw. One of the groups carried light weapons and quickly approached Emoya's position, locking onto the dangerous target. Everything had just been arranged when Luo Yuan suddenly smiled from Emoya's side. His gaze swept to the side to the rear. He was clearly pointing at the corner that was blocking Luo Nan and Qin Yikuan. Luo Nan used his mental senses to observe this detail. His heart skipped a beat, but he saw the middle-aged man bid farewell to Emoya. I still have things to do today so I can't chat much. I'll be leaving first. I wish you all a successful performance. This person shook hands with Emoya and the others one by one. Even Ma Lu and Huang Xiangdong, who were drunk and muddle-headed, were not spared. Then he passed by them and went straight down the underground tunnel. Luo Nan and Qin Yikuan both let out sighs of relief when they saw the situation. Qin Yikuan immediately gave a more dependable order: follow him evenly. Don't act rashly. A few seconds after the order was issued, Mr. Luo Yuan turned into aisle 4 not far away and disappeared from most people's sight. The security personnel in charge of tracking reported, he went up the escalator and entered the municipal plaza area. It's estimated that he has left a safe distance. Should we continue tracking him? Qin Yikuan glanced at Luo Nan. Continue. Connect to the surrounding surveillance. We need to confirm the time period before and after. I'll contact the branch and do my best to figure out his social identity as soon as possible. The last sentence was directed at Luo Nan. Luo Nan nodded slightly and let out a secret breath of relief. Due to the privacy of the living starry sky, Luo Nan couldn't say clearly why he suspected this person. He was worried that he wouldn't be able to explain himself. But clearly he was overthinking things. With his current status in the society and his famed mental senses, Qin Ikuin and the other security personnel from top to bottom didn't question him at all. They even used the high-grade resources of the branch without the slightest hesitation. Soon Luo Yuan's movement trajectory appeared on the hexayear. Actually, Luo Nan had locked onto him. Though the mental plane was empty and Luo Nan was unable to directly locate him, he could still indirectly monitor him through the surrounding personnel. Under everyone's gazes, Luo Yuan boarded a flying car that had been waiting for a long time outside the municipal square and slowly drove away. Luo Yuan didn't make any other contact during this time. And the latest surveillance results came out. This person had entered the municipal plaza area for around 20 minutes. He had been walking the entire time without stopping until he met Emoya and her party. It seemed that this person had come specifically to chat with Emoya and the others. He would leave after he finished chatting. Anyone could feel an extremely strong sense of purpose when they saw the movement trajectory organized by the security personnel. Luo Nan just felt a chill from the bottom of his heart. The actions of this Luo Yuan posed an immeasurable threat to him and even his family members. Luo Nan couldn't help but make a few deductions in his mind. The results made his scalp faintly swell. This sort of monster was empty on the mental plane. Most of Luo Nan's mental abilities became mere decorations. If they were to really fight, Luo Nan could count on very few methods. Qin Ikuin's expression was grave. I'll contact the military police outside and find a reason to interrogate them. Emoya and the others had already walked to the corner by now. They were a bit surprised to see Luo Nan and a stranger leaning against this place. Luo Nan suppressed the uneasiness in his heart and asked Emoya as if nothing had happened, I saw you talking to someone just now. Who's that? Oh, that. His name is Luo Yuan. We met at the Man-Town Music Festival. He's an uncle with an awesome smoky voice. He's especially good at seducing people. Wang Imo added, the expression of the wilderness minor tune is very strong. According to him, he can only get the taste out of searching for treasures and picking up girls in the wilderness all year round. The wilderness? Luo Nan and Qin Ikuin exchanged glances once more. This was even more troublesome. Were vagrants included? Qin Ikuin immediately gave an order to his subordinates. Search the vagrant database. Prioritize the area around Xia City. All information from the security personnel went through the psychic wave network. Outsiders wouldn't be able to find out. However, Qin Ikuin standing here was already very eye-catching. Emoya cast her gaze over. She was a bit puzzled. This is? Oh, Brother Qin is a friend I met at the Daoguan. Luo Nan's brain suddenly jammed when he spoke to this point. He could only throw the blame away. Luckily, Qin Ikuin's skill at throwing the blame was quite high. He had a calm smile on his face as he took the initiative to introduce himself. I'm Qin Ikuin. I met Nanster during an exchange at the Daoguan. I work for a security company. Our company is responsible for patrolling the area for the university students' demonstration today. Emoya gave a simple introduction of the people here, and the two sides got to know each other. While they were introducing each other, the latest information regarding Luo Yuan came back. Luo Nan and Qin Ikuin didn't feel too good when they received the news. No one? How could there be no one? Yes. There were no traces of this person in the car. The driver is an employee of a regular car rental company. He doesn't know anything. He said that after the customer got off the car he never came back. I feel like he's missing a piece of his memory. It's like he was swallowed by a ghost. The road that stopped Luo Yuan's flying car had already exceeded the range of Luo Nan's mental senses. Luo Nan was unable to directly sense the situation at the scene, but the information he received made his hair stand on end. Afterwards, Qin Ikuin requested his subordinates to investigate the surveillance, but there were no traces. That person really was like a spirit. He suddenly appeared and then disappeared. The situation was heading toward a serious trend. Luo Nan and Qin Ikuin exchanged opinions. On the plane of reality, Qin Ikuin was a complete opposite of his usual taciturn attitude. He faced Emoya and the others with a warm smile. I heard from Nanster that you guys are signed artists and public figures. The flow of people in front is getting bigger and bigger. Soon a group of students will pass by. It's inconvenient to continue like this. How about this? I'll open up a reserved safe passage. Everyone can pass through here. It'll save us a lot of trouble. Emoya and Hai Jing never thought that there would be such a good thing. They were a bit hesitant. Is that okay? No problem. It's our duty to avoid possible accidents. Qin Ikuan spoke a few words through his wristband in a dignified manner. Then he guided everyone into the closed and deactivated escalator. The deactivated escalator started operating once more as soon as they went up. Now Emoya and the others had no more doubts about Qin Ikuan's status and authority. Plus, they were very interested in the mysterious and hot-blooded Taoist career. Soon, everyone started chatting enthusiastically. Little did they know that many people were holding their breaths in rapt attention in this temporarily open safe passage. Some were so nervous that their palms were sweating. Everyone couldn't relax for even a moment before the fellow who called himself Luo Yuan re-entered the surveillance field of view. Luo Nan and the others returned to the Tonghui building in a strange atmosphere. Qin Ikuan couldn't follow them back in here. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to explain his identity. But the society was truly resourceful. Luo Nan had just said goodbye to Qin Ikuan and entered the private elevator when someone who called himself the deputy head of the building's security followed them. He wore a well-ironed uniform and his gaze crossed with Luo Nan's. This deputy head had just gone for a morning run with Luo Nan 2 days ago. He was an ability user retired from the military. His name was God, and he was the deputy head of Luo Nan's security team. He and Qin Ikuan took turns taking care of Luo Nan's daily security work. Today was supposed to be an off-duty day, but considering that the situation in the municipal square was different from home and school, he rushed over to strengthen the security force. He was a responsible uncle. Although Hai Jing was one of the people in charge of Mingtang culture here, it was impossible for him to control the security personnel of the entire office building. He didn't care when he saw that there were no problems with God's clothes and authority. As the elevator went up, he asked a few questions about the situation of the underground passageway that led directly to the backstage. God answered fluently and gave him the contact number of the person in charge. Hai Jing had already saved it, but he was still very grateful. Chapter 467. When the elevator reached the 56th floor, it was already 3:45 p.m. For Mountain Stream and all the artists from Mingtang culture, this was the real battle preparation stage. They didn't need to think about practicing anymore. All they needed to do was relax and adjust their state of mind. Hai Jing drinking with a group of people might seem out of line, but it was actually a prelude to relaxing. It was perfect for a grassroots band like Mountain Stream. It could be said that he had put in a lot of effort. However, it wasn't easy to get rid of the effects of drunkenness. As soon as they returned to the practice room, Hai Jing acted like a manager and ordered all the members of Mountain Stream to sleep, especially Huang Xiangdong and Ma Lu who had drunk too much. Ma Lu's alcohol tolerance was fine. He just squatted on the floor and refused to get up. Huang Xiangdong, on the other hand, was extremely excited. He picked up his beloved bass and played an impromptu solo. It was rare that he was still in tune. In the deep sound Hai Jing arranged methodically, the wake-up time is at 4:30 p.m. There are still 45 minutes left. You are all old drunkards and have taken drugs. There is enough time. I will arrange for the transportation of the instruments and send them directly backstage. For now, don't think about anything else. Have a good sleep. Wang Imo raised his hand, but Brother Jing, we are still missing one person. Hai Jing was stunned. Alcohol still had an effect on him. He didn't realize that the drummer, Shui, had not returned yet. He reacted quickly, don't worry about it. I will contact her. He said it lightly, but after 2 rounds of calls, Shui did not pick up. No one could stay calm now. Without one person, how could they perform at night? Huang Xiangdong, who was still drunk, roared, I would have F***ed her 2 months ago. Emoya kicked him against the wall. Huang Xiangdong and Shui Jing had been a couple for a period of time, but they had broken up. Although their band was small, there were many messy things going on inside. In the midst of the chaos, Shui finally picked up the 3rd round of calls. She said that she had just returned and would be there soon. Not long after, the door to the practice room opened. Shui walked in. Her long hair was wet and she was panting. Her face was bright red. From the smell of her breath, it seemed that she had drunk too. Huang Xiangdong glared at Shui. He wanted to say something to his ex-girlfriend, but he was also drunk, so he didn't have the qualification to say that. He could only vent his anger by pulling the strings. Bass's low voice swept through the training room again. However, the next moment Hai Jing snatched it away. Sober up, take a bath, change your clothes and sleep. This is your current task. There is no time to waste. Hurry up. Shuei snorted and went to the lounge. He staggered a little. Emoya asked her, "Are you okay?" "There are sobering pills here." "Okay." Shuei flipped her hair and couldn't help laughing. When she reached out to take it, she didn't even manage to catch it. Luo Nan frowned from behind the door. Poor sense of distance. Chaotic emotions. Signs of stimulating activity in many areas of the brain. Did this sis take drugs? Taking drugs to get high before a performance was a bad habit of many bands in the industry, and many people had been ruined by it. Shuei's method in the long run was really not wise. In any case, the matter was resolved perfectly for now. Luo Nan didn't need to stay in the Mountain Stream Band's room any longer. He called out to them and left, saying that he was going to rest for a bit. Outside the door, God stood in the hallway waiting. Cat Eyes was next to him. Cat Eyes had already received some news. She chuckled. "What's wrong? Did you cause trouble again?" Luo Nan was too lazy to answer. He asked God, "Is there any news about that Luo Yuan?" God shook his head. "Not yet." Why did he suddenly disappear? Luo Nan felt a bit of a headache. However, the three of them were not company personnel standing in the hallway. They were quite eye-catching, so Luo Nan made the decision to choose a place to discuss matters. It was room 5627. He had the authority and password and there was no one there. The automatic cleaning system of Tonghui Building was trustworthy. Luo Nan didn't discover any traces of the indescribable path after entering the room. The air was still quite clear. He sighed and stretched. He warmed up his muscles and bones, pondering what to do next. God spoke up at this time. "There's the latest information regarding that Luo Yuan. Have you found him? Where is he?" "No. We haven't found any traces of the target, but we have some clues regarding his identity." The society had never stopped collecting and organizing information ever since Luo Nan's warning. Fortunately, this Luo Yuan didn't seem to be a particularly low-key person. The three of them could access the psychic wave network, and the relevant information could be easily shared. God gave a further explanation. Luo Yuan, a vagrant of the wilderness. He's a relatively famous gene dealer. A nicer way to describe a so-called gene dealer was a gene merchant. This occupation used various methods to collect valuable genetic samples and provide services to various laboratories that did related topics. Their targets included relatively rare animals and plants, as well as various successful people in society, and even mutants and ability users. Cat Eyes sneered, "Dragons give birth to dragons, phoenixes give birth to phoenixes, and the son of a mouse can dig holes." This kind of thinking is quite popular right now. Many laboratories want to make some achievements on this path. It's a sunrise industry. Luo Nan was a bit puzzled. Since he's a gene dealer, he must be interested in some special genes. Who's his target? Cat Eyes and God cast their gazes over as soon as Luo Nan finished speaking. "Meh. Are you happy? If you're short on money in the future, you can make some money by selling genes." Luo Nan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. What's wrong with that? If he's really interested in my genes, can't I just pluck out a strand of my hair and give it to him? Or should I just spit on him? Also, he can go to the hospital. In today's society, genetic sampling was a physical examination program that existed from a young age. Every few years, the Public Welfare Department would go to schools and families to collect genetic samples to screen for various fatal diseases. There was also a common saying that the government did this in order to perfect the human gene pool and strengthen their ability to control society. In any case, the genetic information of a citizen was absolutely no secret to those who had the ability. There was no need to go against the Xia City branch. Cat Eyes clicked her tongue twice and shook her head. "Boss, you may be young, but don't treat ignorance as happiness, okay? Have you ever heard of the limit gene? Is that a word you coined? I don't help the society take the blame. This concept is quite popular in the inner world. It involves the problem of the source of an ability user's power. There are quite a few people who believe that the source of an ability user's power lies in the strengthening and modification of the human body's original genes by their extraordinary abilities. The genes of the same person before and after their ability awakens will be different. Similarly, the genetic structure of the peak limit state will be different from the normal state. Although this theory doesn't have solid data to support it, many people believe in it. Therefore, many gene dealers are all perverts. Luo Nan felt a bit dizzy. Where's the logic in your words? God explained in a deep voice from the side, a first-rate gene dealer is also a first-rate torturer. They use all sorts of methods to make their targets experience multiple states and stages. Finally, they are forced to the point of no return in order to obtain the most complete genetic sample. They can do this to mutants and they can also do this to humans. Therefore, being targeted by a gene dealer is absolutely not an easy thing to do. Luo Nan raised his eyebrows, but he didn't say anything. God reminded him a step further, plus, from the current information, the so-called gene dealer is likely just a layer of cover. After all, his transaction records are far too few. Perhaps there are deeper secrets that haven't been exposed. The society is still continuing to investigate, but some information requires the use of headquarters authority. Right now they are still communicating. The latter half of God's words were suddenly cut off. Before this, Luo Nan and Cat Eyes had already sensed that someone was coming into the room. The outer door trembled several seconds later. Before the person entered the room, a voice was already transmitted in, "Don't worry about the rehearsal. We still have a long period of time. Young Master can't you just wait a bit?" The female artist laughed as she rushed in, still pouting coquettishly without end. She didn't pay attention to the environment in the room at all. But the three enormous figures in the empty room could be seen with a single glance. It was hard not to see them even if they didn't want to. The female artist was stupefied in place a second later. However, Donglu, who was behind her, clearly didn't wake up in time. He saw her body stop, so he wrapped an arm around her waist from behind. He moved up and down ceaselessly. "Oh my! I've always admired the body management of the artists under Mingtang culture." Donglu finally discovered the situation in the room. He had been stupefied for a record-breaking 5 seconds. Then he laughed mischievously, "So you guys are already here. I know. First come, first served. You guys take your time to play. You all understand that your tastes are quite heavy." In the end, even he himself didn't know what to say. He pulled the female artist away in a sorry state. Luo Nan stared at them the entire time. Even though the door was closed, his mental senses were still locked onto them. Cat Eyes cast a sidelong glance at him. "Hey, you're interested in that woman too? But her body management is really quite good. She practices at my place all year round. She can rank in the top 5. Luo Nan ignored the nonsense inside and asked, "Didn't you notice? That person seems to be..." "Oh, you're talking about Lan Lin?" "Yeah. She and Lan Lin were here this morning." "That's right." Cat Eyes wasn't interested in discussing this topic. She interrupted Luo Nan's words. "First-rate body management doesn't mean that desire management is equally outstanding. Plus, standards aren't the same in this circle. Speaking of which, your standards are quite conservative. You and Captain Gao should be on the same page on this point." Gauda didn't react at all. It was as if he hadn't heard anything. Luo Nan's lips curled. His mental senses continued to linger on the female artist's body. The scene just now gave him a vague reminder. It made him think of a few things, but he was unable to grasp them for the time being. Chapter 468. Simply waiting was boring. But if there were clear things to do during this time, the flow of time would be astonishingly fast. Soon it was already 4:30 in the afternoon. Hai Jing, who had gone through the wake-up call, contacted Luo Nan and asked him if he wanted to follow the Mountain Creek Band and the BHD Band to the backstage waiting room. Luo Nan responded smoothly, "Okay, I'll go right now." But God and Cat Eyes cast their gazes over the moment the words left his mouth. They didn't seem to agree with him. Luo Nan hung up the call. He felt a bit guilty, but he still asked, "What's wrong?" Cat Eyes chuckled. "If the gene dealer's target is you, aren't you afraid that the several 100,000 people in the municipal plaza will be buried along with you, given your ability to stir up trouble? I'm indebted to you for thinking so highly of me." No. I think you're being too conservative." Using some extremely vulgar words to describe a certain person, he was simply born for the grand occasion. Frost River Reality and Ocean Sky Cloud City were things that everyone knew about. Back at Aurora Cloud City, he had only watched from the sidelines. He had not even taken part in the battle. This was also the effect of an earthquake. Famous experts like An Wang, Snake Tongue and Mo Luan had fallen one after the other. Why did the Xia City branch arrange a security team like they were serving a lord? They were on guard the entire time. Even so, Aurora Cloud City nearly failed to turn over. Right now, Cat Eyes had the attitude of facing the Demon King of Calamity in conversation. Of course Luo Nan was aware of this. He could not help but glare fiercely at her. But he could not deny that this was indeed a problem. It was not that Luo Nan did not consider it. But if he were to intervene from another angle, the problem would still be serious. What if the drug dealer's target is Emoya? After all, he has been in contact with Moya and the others ever since the Man City Music Festival. And from the trajectory of his actions, he has an extremely strong goal. Cat Eyes curled her lips. If his target is your sister, do you think that you two siblings will be able to reunite in Xia City? Luo Nan rolled his eyes and did not reply. See, I told you so. Boss, and I'm saying if, an assassin targeting you uses your family as bait to lure you into making a stupid decision, then his workload should be reduced by a lot. Right when Luo Nan was choking, God took the initiative to speak. If Mr. Luo is worried, then a relatively moderate countermeasure is this. Mr. Luo and Miss Moya will be separated. Our security forces can be appropriately divided. Qin Ikuan will be responsible for Miss Moya, and I will be responsible for Mr. Luo. Add Cat Eyes and the people transferred over from the society. Diversion? Cat Eyes widened her eyes. Captain Gao, what kind of *T contingency plan is this? Do you think that the enemy someone provoked is the same terrorist you dealt with in the army? Cat Eye's evaluation was very sharp, but this did not mean that she cared about Luo Nan that much. She was just picking at him out of habit. God was not angry. He simply replied, the security team must respect Mr. Luo's wishes. This is the first time I've realized that security work can be so humane. That's because Mr. Luo isn't a wealthy businessman with a big belly. When Vice President he arranged the mission, he mentioned that Mr. Luo has the ability to break free from security forces. If he doesn't cooperate, security work is just empty talk. God spoke up to this point, but he still added, Mr. Luo has taken good care of us up until now. Cat Eyes giggled. In other words, you guys are just waiting for him to blow up, right? Continuing to speak would just be bickering. God rationally shut his mouth and said nothing. Luo Nan knew that God had suffered a calamity because of him. He simply ended the topic, I'll go meet up with Moya and the others first. Speaking of which, I'll just kidnap Moya and bring her home. Pretend I didn't say anything. In any case, finding Luo Yuan is the safest method. He was just about to get up when Hai Jing called, Nanster, it's a bit messy upstairs right now. It's not easy to arrange people. Do me a favor and leave the elevator open. If the main elevator isn't enough, then the backup elevator is fine. Okay, got it, Brother Jing. Luo Nan responded as his mental senses directly covered the area. For the sake of secrecy, Mingtang culture had refused to use the public elevator when they reserved this floor. There was only one dedicated elevator and one backup elevator. There were at least 100 people on this floor, including artists, assistants, and staff. They were all gathered at this time and they all had to rush backstage. Even though they had already considered the diversion, the elevator's usage rate was still extremely high. Luo Nan used his mental senses to scan the floor's situation. He saw that there was a large piece of luggage being transferred in the direction of the main elevator. He simply gave up on using the elevator. His consciousness swam to the backup elevator. He saw that a group of people had just gone down, so he used his soul strength to interfere with the material plane and pressed the down button. Cat Eyes let out a long sigh, mental interference with reality. Just use it on the elevator. Don't you hear the 100,000 ability users crying? The straight line distance between room 5627 and the backup elevator was at least 50 to 60 meters. Cat Eyes was barely able to track it. It wasn't that Cat Eyes couldn't press the button through the air, but she couldn't reach Luo Nan's level of lifting something heavy as if it were light. In fact, the vast majority of psychic ability users needed their consciousness to soak in for a long period of time to achieve a certain degree of resonance and fusion. Only then could they exert force. Cat Eyes was already a 1 in 100 talent among psychic ability users for her ability to realize her awakening. But her heart hurt when she compared her own methods to Luo Nan's. Thank you for the compliment. Luo Nan stood up and patted the dust off his butt. He spoke to Gauda, Captain Gao, I'll have to trouble you. Gauda didn't say much. He just nodded. It was quite interesting to say that the security team by Luo Nan's side were all taciturn, regardless of whether they were in charge or deputy positions. Luo Nan and Qin Ikuan had been discussing fighting quite a bit these past few days, so they were more familiar with each other. And Gauda was like this. Luo Nan had to admit that this kind of bodyguard was quite worry-free. He Yuan must have spent quite a bit of thought when she chose the members of his security team. Gauda and Cat Eyes wanted to discuss matters to take note of in their future cooperation, so Luo Nan pushed open the door and left first. He had just rounded the corner when a voice came from behind. Hey, who's that? Luo Nan didn't need to turn his head to know who it was. He hesitated for a moment before turning around. Sure enough, he saw a slightly plump woman. This was Shi Wei's assistant. It was because of her that Luo Nan transformed into a delivery boy this morning, causing quite a bit of trouble. Assistant Meng. Luo Nan finally remembered that he still had the status of a temporary worker at Mingtang Culture. He immediately greeted her. You've worked hard this morning. Alright, what's your name again? You just arrived at the company, right? I've never seen you before. Assistant Meng's appearance was ordinary, but her personality was quite good. She wasn't the one who had Luo Nan run errands this morning. It was mainly because of Boss Wu. Luo Nan said his own name. It was this small delay when the door to room 5621 opened on the other end of the long hallway. The BHD trio walked out with backpacks on their backs. The three saw Luo Nan and Assistant Meng on the other end of the long hallway. Baiyu was the first to wave. It looked like the sun was shining brilliantly at first glance, but all of it shone on Luo Nan. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.